Hey everyone, welcome to Tathastu-ICS. I hope you all are doing good. Well, in yesterday's class, we talked about BRICS Plus. We talked about the 15th BRICS Summit, which is happening in South Africa. And we talked how 6 countries are joining with BRICS Alliance with these 5 already established countries. Okay? But on the sidelines of this BRICS and BRICS Plus, one major development has happened. The 2 prominent members of BRICS, India and China, their supreme leaders, their prime leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, they decided that they will intensify their efforts to disengage and de-escalate along the LAC in the Eastern Ladakh sector. Okay, the Eastern Ladakh sector, and LAC is line of actual control. So now they have decided. So the ball is in the court of military leaders, military, specifically those military troops who are stationed there, and they'll see the dynamics and they'll try to execute what they have said. But that's the news, and this is the end of the news. But in today's session, we are going to talk about what is LAC, what is the dynamics of LAC for both these countries, how is this LAC different from LOC, line of actual control, and line of control, what's the difference between them, and what is the significance of this line, this border for both the countries, for both India and China. So let's move on. What is LAC? So LAC is broadly the demarcation that separates Indian controlled territory from Chinese controlled territory. Okay, so it's a line. On one side there is Indian controlled territory, on the other side there is Chinese controlled. It is divided into 3 sectors. Broadly it is divided into 3 sectors. One sector is eastern sector, which spans Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. So this is one sector from Arunachal Pradesh to Sikkim. Another middle sector is it consists of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. This is the second sector. And the third sector is the western sector in Ladakh, and this is the sector, and we've been talking about this sector only. Okay, so this whole border, which according to India is a border of around 3,488 kilometers, and according to China, the same LAC, line of actual control, is only of 2,000 kilometers. So this is the main reason. The difference is not something which can be avoided. There is a difference of almost 1,500 kilometers, and that is the reason why both these countries are so much engaged in the topic. Okay, now what is India's claim line? So there is a LAC, line of actual control, but that line has not been prominently accepted, officially accepted by India. India says that there is a line which according to us is the real line, and that India's claim line is the line seen in official boundary marked on the maps of Survey of India. And in this Survey of India map, they mark Aksai Chin and Gilgit-Baltistan as their part. Okay, we mark this as our part. So this means LAC is not the claim line for India. Our claim line moves beyond than this. It moves into the territory of Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and it moves into the territory of Aksai Chin. But according to China, what is China's case? So according to China, LAC is the claim line, and they expect the eastern sector specifically, which according to them, the entire Arunachal Pradesh is the part of southern Tibet. Okay, according to them, this LAC is fine. We are accepting this. According to us, it is okay, but just give us Arunachal Pradesh. It's the part of southern Tibet. Okay, this is the problem. Now, what is this LAC versus LOC? Now we are going to talk about what is this LAC and how is this different from line of control, which is in Pakistan, which we share with Pakistan. So this word LOC, it emerged from the word 1968 ceasefire line. Okay, so what happened in 1948? I'm sorry, I said 1968. In 1948, Pakistanis attacked on Kashmir, and at that point in time, when UN intervened, a ceasefire line has been demarcated, and that ceasefire line has been there. It has been present there until 1972, until we defeated Pakistan again, and we created a new nation out of Pakistan, that was Bangladesh. Okay, this war has been called Bangladesh Liberation War. Okay? So in Shimla conference, in Shimla agreement, that what follows a war, there is a difference between. A war happens when there is a difference between 2 countries, then a war happens, and then we sit on a table and we think about, we sign agreements and all those things, and obviously a winner country has a sway on the agreements. They write the history, as we say it. Okay, so in 1972, this particular word ceasefire line 1942. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm again 1968. In 1948, this particular ceasefire line, it has been changed to this LOC, line of actual control, in 1972. Now it is delineated on the map signed by DGMO of both the armies and has the international sanctity of legal agreements. Okay, so all the legal agreements will be made on this. On the other hand, the LAC is only a concept. There is no legal documentation for it. Okay, it's a conceptual line, it's an imaginary line. It is agreed upon by the two countries, and neither of the countries delineated on the map and demarcated it on the ground. Okay, so there is a difference between, this is the difference between LAC and LOC. LOC is a legal line, you can say it, both the countries agreed on it, whereas LAC is something which is imaginary line which has been created out of a situation. Okay, so what is the disagreement? And that is the prominent disagreement, and that is the prominent reason of contention between India and China. Okay, so the major agreements are in the western sector. So the major agreements are in the western sector, where the LAC emerged from two letters written by Chinese PM Zhou Enlai to PM Jawaharlal Nehru in 1959. Okay, before this, before 1959, in 1956 also, for the first time China said this word verbally, line of actual control. 3 years down the line, in 1959, the Chinese Prime Minister, he has written something like this, and he has sent a letter to Prime Minister of India, erstwhile Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, and since then there is contention between the two countries. Okay, now comes the war of 1962. So after the war of 1962, the Chinese claimed that they had withdrawn to 20 kilometers behind the line of actual control of 1959, which coincides with the so-called McMahon line in the eastern sector. So this is China's tactics. What they'll do is, this is their position, this is our position. Suppose it's China's border, it's India's border. Okay. So what Chinese do is, they come 40 kilometers, okay, and then there is contention, there is all hue and clamor, and everybody is fighting, everybody is quarreling, all these things are happening. Then they will say, okay, we are going back, we will go back 20 kilometers. Now still they will be having 20 kilometers, typical Chinese, still they will be having 20 kilometers, but they will say, see, we have given you that 20 kilometer, you are not talking about that thing, we are talking about disengagement, we are talking about neutrality, we are talking all these things, which is sort of rubbish. Here, let's move on. What is India's response to China's designation of LAC? There is something which China designates LAC, China approves LAC. They say LAC is perfectly fine, just give us Arunachal Pradesh and we'll be absolutely okay with it. Okay, so India rejected the concept of LAC both in 1959 and 1962, as it is the line China has created. Okay, it is a line which has been created by the situation, and that situation prominently favored China, because in 1962 China won the war. The Chinese line was disconnected series of points on a map that could be joined up in many ways. The line should omit the gains of aggression in 1962. So this is the stance, this is the stand of India, that this line gives undue advantage to Chinese people, to the country of China, because in 1962 they won the war. Okay, and therefore they should be based on the actual position on 8 September 1962 before the Chinese attack. So that particular line should be based on the concept, on the idea, or on the actualities which were there before the war. Okay? And that is the reason of this vagueness. There is no legality, everything is there in the air only. So this is the reason that there is vagueness, and the vagueness of Chinese definition left it in open for China to continue its creeping attempt to change the facts on the ground by military force. And they have done this. They have done this in 2017 in Doklam. They have done this. They tried to do this in Galwan in 2020 also. Okay. Moving forward. Why are these claim lines controversial in Ladakh? Because specifically the news was that both the leaders have agreed that they will solve the contention in the area of Ladakh. We talked about how LAC is divided into 3 sectors, and the talk has been for this particular Ladakh sector. So why this sector is in contention, and why is this a problem between two countries? So there is Aksai Chin in Ladakh. Okay, in Ladakh's province there is Aksai Chin. This is Aksai Chin. Hope you are able to see. Okay, and in province of the princely states of J&K, which was not the part of, at that time it was not the part of British India. Aksai Chin was the part of princely state which was not the part of British India. Okay, and thus the eastern boundary was well defined in 1914 when the Shimla Agreement on McMahon Line was signed by the British India, but the west in Ladakh it was not. Okay, this particular western Ladakh thing, because this line, this actual line was signed, all the talks and all the things which have been there, it is because of the Shimla Agreement of 1940. Okay, and all the signatures were there, they have been done, all the talks have been done for this LAC, excluding this particular sector, this particular Ladakh sector, and that is why it's a problem, because it has not been clarified by the Britishers of those times. Okay, so आज भी हम बहुत सारी जो हमारी समस्याएं, जो हमारे the problems which we are facing in today's time also, some or the other they have its genesis in the past, in the rulership, in the rules of the British India. Okay, they've created all the problems away. Now current arrangement to reconcile the differences over LAC, we have seen what are the differences, what is LAC, how is it different from LOC, and what is the contention, particularly if you're talking about Ladakh, then why is Ladakh a problem? Okay. Now how can we solve it? What is India and China doing to solve this particular issue? One is, India formally accepted the concept of LAC when the Indian PM paid a return visit to Beijing in 1993. Why was this a return visit? Because in 1991 Li Peng, the Prime Minister of India, the Premier of China, he visited India. Okay, now the two sides signed the agreement to maintain peace and tranquility at the LAC. उन्होंने कहा कि it's everything is fine, everything is okay, and we'll try to make things better. Okay, this is after 30 years of that particular war of 1962. Okay. Now the difference of LAC was unable to make it clear that it was referring to the LAC at the time arrangement was signed, not the LAC of 1999 or the 1962. When this particular agreement or this particular arrangement was done in 1993, okay, at that point in time it was not, it has not been cleared. This LAC, it has a gene that it will not be cleared anyway. Okay, so when we were talking about this thing, that let's clarify, at that point in time also the things have not been clarified. It was not been clarified that about the particular LAC we are talking. What is it? It's a LAC of 1959. Is it a LAC of 1962? Even if it is a LAC of 1962, it belongs to the pre-war era or a post-war era. So there have been confusions, and because of those confusions, there are skirmishes over the border. To reconcile the differences about some areas, the two countries agreed that the joint working group on the border issue would take up the task of clarifying the alignment of the LAC. So broadly things are, हमने तरक्की की है, हम तरक्की करेंगे. It's like there have been problems, but we have somehow coped with it. We have somehow managed to come out of it, and we'll also try to make things better. That's two nations, that is two individuals or two nations can expect from each other if there is a situation which is not very pleasant. Okay, so that is what LAC and the dilemma and the dynamics around LAC was, and why China and India, the short story about China and India and how is it related to both of them. Okay, we'll meet in the other class. Until then, take care very much. Bye bye.